guys are, yeah, I'm very fit. I was like, I'm not quitting because I don't like it. I'm quitting because you're trying to I haven't, this is the first day since I said no. And I bought her something. I was like, but it's just like, yeah, I called my mom the first time. I used my own. I was like, yeah, was the first time I came out. And I'm like, my parents are not doing that. They're not excellent. I've been looking at yeah, and I was like,
Then you just go to because if first price is made, then you just go start.
My old man. First, read the application. An introduction. Otherwise, you're going to get statue. I'm not. Like 95.
I now call this meeting of the Student Senate to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to begin our Student Senate meeting taking place on Thursday, September 19th, 2024 with a land acknowledgement. We recognize that Kansas State University is the first land-grant institution, stands on the ancestral lands of the Kaw people. Our state of Kansas is home to 4 federally recognized Native nations, the Iowa, Kickapoo, Prairie Band, Potawatomi, and Sac and Fox. We must remember that the land serving as the foundation for this institution was and still is stolen land acquired by white settlers. We pledge our commitment to creating decolonized spaces at the university while advocating for the support and future success of Indigenous faculty, staff, and students at K-State. And with that, Speaker Pro Tem Heseltine will take it away with our first roll call.
Alvarez.
Here.
Black.
Here.
Blood.
Here.
Brugan. Byers.
Here.
Casement.
Here.
Koch.
Here.
Ediger.
Here.
George.
Yeah, I'm here.
Giefer.
Here.
Glanville.
Here.
Glasscock.
Here.
Griffith.
Here.
Anna. Hoffman.
Here.
Holmes. Holzmeister,
Here.
Islam, Jacobson Madeline, Jacobson Michael,
Here.
Jonak, here, Carton,
Yep.
Keen,
Here.
Kidd,
Here.
Kermer,
Here.
Lee,
Here.
Lilly,
Here.
McCullough,
Here.
Moltz,
Here.
Moore, Morris,
Here.
Nagai Velasquez, Otto,
Here.
Peterson, Palenko,
Here.
Prey, Robbie,
Yes.
Rafferty,
Here.
Richenberg,
Here.
Jasavari, Shirky,
Here.
Sides,
Here.
Srivastava, Stewart, Strunk,
Here.
Shushanek, and that's it.
Okay, if you will please close your laptops and join me in welcoming the Dean of K-State Libraries, Joe Mocknick.
Good evening, everybody. How are you doing?
Good.
Good. Can you hear me loud and clear? Yeah. Such a pleasure to come and to connect with Student Government Association. I would like to first acknowledge the President and Vice President. Thank you so much for inviting me. I actually brought some other crew with me, so I'm going to invite them here in a second. I would like to thank all of you for wonderful collaborative relationships that we have. Our library, Hay Library, is your library. And this is another administration where that is being confirmed and that is being, again, put in place. And I would like you to feel home in the Hay Library and all other library operations that we have. And I hope that every time you walk in, you have a sense of ownership of the building. I'm going to say that Benji has a sense of ownership because I know that he does spend lots of time in the library, and perhaps few of you as well. So tonight we are here certainly to answer your questions, but we have a particular topic that we are going to be talking about that has to do with the textbooks. I'm going to invite our Associate Dean, Dr. Luttrell, up there, and Dr. Luttrell is also bringing Elizabeth and Michelle to join us. So why don't you come here and perhaps briefly share some of the updates that we have for you tonight. Why don't you go and introduce yourself?
Thank you. I'm Laurel Luttrell, Associate Dean, and I'm very pleased to have Elizabeth Burney and Michelle Turvey-Welch here to talk about textbook affordability, which is an enormous issue for our students in student success.
This usually isn't my role, standing in front of a microphone, but we'll go ahead and run through this and see what questions you have. So we just have a couple slides, and tonight's really more about awareness of what the libraries have, because you all are some of our best advocates. So a bit of history. K-State Libraries have done all sorts of different projects and experiments over the years around textbooks. So one thing that we currently have is the Open Alternative Textbook Initiative. So I don't know if anyone has benefited from this. I hope you have. The math department, you can read as well as I can. A number of departments are heavy users of those free textbooks. So to see that in the catalog, it's just that book with an O. So you pay a $10 fee, $9 of that goes back to the department that adopted that textbook, and $1 goes to the administration. This is a wonderful benefit. Another thing, thanks to SGA, we got to experiment between 2017 and 2020 on some early initiatives around textbook affordability with the commercial textbooks. So we would go to the bookstore and buy textbooks that we would put on reserve as an alternative. You know, if money was tight, perhaps your grant or scholarship didn't come in a timely manner, folks would come over and use those textbooks. And then COVID hit, and we modified things a bit. If you could go to the next slide. So the past 2 years, we've tried some other experiments around textbooks. So we have taken some of our regular collections budget And based on requests, we have bought a copy of a textbook to put on our course reserve. We've tried, and we can't do this for everything, but where we can, we try to buy unlimited electronic books. So there's no gating. You can get in, folks can download. Sometimes that's not available to us, depends what the licensing offers are. We have also upped our game around our course reserves and have worked to create a more robust service there. We've adopted an electronic course reserve system that perhaps some of you have interacted with. We've also got integrations in Canvas. So I'll switch and turn over to Elizabeth.
The Canva part is really kind of interesting because we've been able to work with course reserves in particular. It used to be that our textbook project was a separate entity than course reserves. And with electronic course reserves, we've been able to tie those together and have everything run kind of through course reserves. The best part about it is that when you guys have, say, a textbook that a faculty member, and it might be out of print now, there's possibilities for us to scan a large quantity of those chapters and then place them up onto electronic reserves. That way you won't have to buy the book at all, and the library can just buy one copy. You can go back. Starting last spring, up until last spring, we had no conversation with the bookstore whatsoever. So none of the information from the bookstore was coming to us at all. Last spring, I got onto Faculty Senate, and the very first day that I showed up, the inclusive access stuff got rolled out for Salina. And hopefully most of you kind of know about that. And I was a very strongly negative about it at the beginning, but I have completely changed my opinion about it. And I'll explain a little bit about that. No, go back. This one's going to take a bit. So in the summer, because of my strong conversations about it, it got the interest of Thomas Lane, and that discussion opened the door for the library to finally get textbook lists from the bookstore. And when I first started looking at that data, that was very messy. We owned about 13% of everything, and most of that was in print, and a few of them that were in electronic were ones that were already purchased in large ebook packages. So few were actually specifically bought for classes. Since that time, we have changed. We've started spending some of our collections money that usually got spent on stuff that went to the stacks. We siphoned off a bit of money off of that and started buying textbooks. So as of this fall, we are now up to a little more than 35% of all textbooks for the fall and spring that have been purchased by the library. I will just tell you that there will never become a day where the library will be able to buy all of them. And this is due to the fact that your professors choose titles that are by Cengage, Pearson, McGraw-Hill, VitalSource, any of those titles that have the online stuff, all of the tests and things that are online. None of that are things that we can buy. So as long as those are still textbooks that are going to be adopted, I'm guessing the library will never be more than 50%. Up until this time also, we have always taken student requests for purchasing of textbooks. And I'll just flip to the one before it, this one, the textbook policy. Back. Go back. And go back. Up, forward. No, one more. This one. So this fall, it was such a gigantic success that we pretty much ate our entire year budget buying textbooks within 1 month of the fiscal year this year. So we have I think it's maybe $1,200 for next semester, which is not enough money to buy anything, to tell you the truth. So we are trying to find other streams of revenue to pay for some textbooks for next semester. So don't think we won't, because we will. However, one of the things we've had to do is create a policy. And that policy is now going to say that we will take no more student requests for purchasing of textbooks. That goes through interlibrary loan, that goes through course reserves. And the reason why is because when we started looking at the data for usage for the ones that we bought the previous year, if we bought it for a student, the faculty was never on board. The faculty never added it to syllabi. You were never informed that that class no longer needed a textbook. And because of that, the usage is really low. So if we're going to spend a lot of money on this, we want you all to use it. I mean, we want you to use it. We want you to have a break in the cost of your textbooks. And if we don't get that usage, then there really is no point to this. You know what I mean? So you can go to the next one. The add drop date is now our solid line for no longer purchasing for that semester. So no more for fall, we're now buying for spring. So what's coming next is really kind of exciting. So Thomas Lane and the people on this group, Brett Freeman, if you haven't met him already, is the new student union guy. He's fabulous. He's gotten me into a pretty good relationship now with the local bookstore guy, who is John Klingenberg. And we are now creating a campus-wide committee that's just going to talk about textbooks. And it's in its infant stage, but we would like at some point to have student members on this. This is just the current one. Thomas Lane and Derek Jackson are just kind of, whenever they want to come, they can come. Derek's been added so that, because I guess of the sorority, fraternity, and dorms connection. However, the student population is going to be really important because what we want is something that's truly what you want. So having your input is significantly important. So we'll let you know when that time comes about. I'm sure somebody will be reaching out to Senate to ask you guys to hopefully add somebody on it. Do you guys have any questions?
Senator Shirkey.
So I'm a senator from engineering. In the engineering college, we get a lot of something you mentioned earlier where it's a textbook that comes with like homework and exams and stuff online. We also get a lot of textbooks where the professor will, not a lot, but the professor will sometimes openly state this textbook is optional for the course, and sometimes we don't even need the textbook itself. There's just maybe some appendices on the back with some sort of tables and figures. For those edge cases like that, how are you going to ensure that there's proper communication with faculty going forward to make sure that, you know, if the textbook's optional, there's probably not going to be a lot of demand. You shouldn't be allocating.
What I would suggest is talking to your faculty and having them provide a copy to the library for us to scan the few pages that you absolutely need. Because with the new electronic reserve, you'll notice when you go into your class in Canva, there should be a library link out, and that will link out to whatever course material we've designated that is for that class. So if we scan a document, it should show up in that area, and you would be able to use it.
Another thing too is getting the faculty to make sure they're giving the information to the bookstore. We have had so many surprises this fall where we've had requests come in of titles that aren't on the bookstore list, and making sure that that's marked as optional so you as a student know that that's more of a fringe or not required. So we really need universally better data to do a better job.
And I'll say a comment about that particular part. If you guys can so pressure your faculty to add stuff to the bookstore, I know that it's probably a frustration for you. It's a frustration for us because we get our data that way. But apparently, the university's been out of compliance for a number of years to actually, we're supposed to tell the Department of Education what textbooks we're assigning. And because not all faculty are putting their materials in the bookstore, we are way out of compliance. And so out of compliance that that's probably my next data project. Any other questions?
Senator Shirkey.
Yeah, I have a follow-up. Sorry, I blanked. Oh, yeah. I guess you mentioned that there was an issue with certain types of publishers where your ability to acquire cheaper textbooks for the students at the end of the day is limited based on the actual provider of the textbook. Obviously, you know, the educational value of a given course comes first, and faculty should make the determination as to what textbook is best, but how can you provide information back to the faculty and say, hey, you know, the choice is yours, but these textbooks are gonna cost several orders of magnitude more.
Right. I think that's additional campaigns around the alternatives with the open educational resources and really making sure the faculty are aware of the implications of selecting from some of those larger publishers. The body of available text that faculty can either adopt and modify with exams or, you know, wholesale adopt is growing, and that would be a great alternative to the Pearsons, the Cengage, and the others. Won't cover everything. There's no magic bullet, the textbooks, if you will. It's taking us, you know, 3 or 4 different things put together to really be able to offer textbooks.
And I'll also say that with the Cengage and types like that, those are great for like those classes that have multiple sections with multiple teachers and everyone has to be teaching the same thing. So they're all identical. So there is a value to those, but I know what you mean. I mean, if we buy one print copy, it's only good for the person who grabs it first that can get the code out of the front, right? So we're trying not to buy those at all. And the way we can buy ours is either one copy in print, one user for one license for an ebook, a 3-user license or unlimited. And we are trying to just do unlimited. So all of those Cengage books that you guys get or McGraw-Hill's, for me, there's not even an option to buy them unlimited. And for a 3-user, it's usually around $1,200, which is not reasonable because if I buy a 3-user, that means 3 people can use it simultaneously, which is
Time for questions has expired.
Yeah. So if you have any other questions, just email us. We're happy to answer anything you might need. But thank you so much. And don't worry, I'm talking a lot in Faculty Senate to all the senators about this, so they're hearing it from other sides too.
Thank you so much.
Are there any further first open period speakers? Okay, seeing none, we will go into approval of the minutes. The minutes were passed out this week along with the agenda and legislation tracking information. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Senator Otto.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Is there an objection? The minutes will stand approved. Okay, with that, we will go into the announcements. First one, proxies. If you're going to be absent from a student senate meeting, fill out this link, even if you aren't sure if your absence will be excused. 2, if you'll be physically absent from the student senate but would still like to attend via Zoom, please fill out the student senator Zoom request form, and speaker requests will review requests based on the student senate attendance policy. Please submit requests here. 3, want to give shout outs to someone in student senate, fill out the senate shout out form, and Speaker Pro Tem Hesseltine will read them at the end of our meeting. Fill out your shout outs here. 4, the SGA members of the week are Bree Ledbetter and Eric Chaplin for their work creating forms to post content on our SGA social medias and for their hard work that they do generating the material. Thank you for your dedication to our organization and for staying on top of that. 5 is the upcoming events calendar, and the quote of the week is leadership and learning are indispensable to each other, from John F. Kennedy. With that, we will go into approval of appointments. Is there a motion to consider? Chair Lee.
I motion to approve the appointments.
We have to consider them first.
Consider them?
Yes. Do you move to consider the resolutions?
Yes, sir.
In bulk?
Yes.
Okay. There's a second. Is there an objection? Okay, if the author will please come forward.
There's like 400 books that we figured out, you know, electronically that need to be tagged to the classes, but we haven't had this. So.
Resolution 242531, approval of new student center for the Carl R. Ice College of Engineering. Author Joseph Lilly, sponsors Senate Ops Carson S. Cuesta, whereas there are currently 5 vacancies as of 30 minutes ago. for the position of student senator for the Carl R. Ice College of Engineering. And whereas Ryan Uphouse has been nominated by the caucus of the Carl R. Ice College of Engineering in their capacity to fill the vacancy, be it resolved that Section 1, the following individual be approved as a student senator for the Carl R. Ice College of Engineering, Ryan Uphouse.
Oh, let's stop for a second. Are there any questions or corrections on Resolution 31? Okay, go to Resolution 32.
Resolution 24-2532, approval of new student senator for the College of Health and Human Sciences, author Joseph Lilly, sponsors Senate Ops Carson S. Cuesta. Whereas there are currently 5 vacancies for the position of student senator for the College of Health and Human Sciences, and whereas Mariah Bolton has been nominated by the caucus of the College of Health and Human Sciences in their capacity to fill the vacancy, be it resolved that Section 1, the following individual be approved as a student senator for the College of Health and Human Sciences, Mariah Bolton.
Are there any questions or corrections? Okay, Resolution 33.
Resolution 24-2533, approval of new student senator for the graduate school. Author Joseph Lilly, sponsors Senate Operations Committee, Carson S. Cuesta. Whereas there are currently 2 vacancies for the position of student senator in the graduate school, and whereas Kazi Hassan Shakib has been nominated by the caucus of the graduate school in their capacity to fill the vacancy, be it resolved that Section 1, the following individual be approved as a student senator for the graduate school, Kazi Hassan Shakib.
Are there any questions or corrections? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the resolutions? Senator Shirkey.
I move to approve resolutions 31 through 33 unanimously.
Second.
Is there an objection? Okay, if the individuals in the resolution will please come forward. Okay.
I know one of them is not going to be here. I was not aware of the other one, so.
Okay, that's fine. If you will raise your right hand and say "I will" at the end. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of student senator and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association. Okay, and then if you will introduce yourself by saying your name, major, hometown, favorite smell, and pronouns.
My name is Ryan Uphouse. I'm currently a freshman in chemical engineering. I am from Seneca, Kansas. It's a pretty small town about an hour north of Topeka. And my favorite smell is probably freshly baked chocolate chip cookies.
Okay, with that, we will go into committee reports. Are there any committee chairs that would like to give a report? Chair Lilly.
I'm back. We had 2 people resign since last week. Both of them were in engineering, so that's pretty tough. But we appointed 3 people today, so we're up 1. Other than that, I'm taking any nominations from anyone in the caucus now, because I talked to general counsel, and basically it's against state law for caucuses to like vote on important things because of the Kansas Open Meetings Act. I'll iron that out shortly, but for now, if you're in the caucus, you can just email me a name and I will contact them and they are eligible for the seat. Right now I need, next week, agriculture will be full. I need engineering and that's it. So if you're in engineering, send me people. Huh? Well, obviously.
Are there any questions for the committee chair? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, Senator Glasscock.
How many people down from full Army total?
As of like, what was it, 6:47, we are down, I believe. But that includes 2, like one of the Salina rep and VPSSA. I don't even know what that is.
It's the Dean of Students, representative.
Okay, well, anyway.
Are there any further questions for the chair? Okay, thank you. Are there any further committee chairs that would like to give a report?
Speaker Cuesta, I apologize for speaking out of turn. There was a microphone glitch when Chair Lilly was speaking. What number are we down again?
14.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, are there any further committee chairs that would like to give a report? Seeing none, are there any directors that would like to give a report? Vice President O'Malley.
Hey guys, for those of you I haven't met, my name's Jack. I'm serving as a student body vice president this year. I want to give an update for those of you who weren't here last semester. The previous student body vice president, Jess, put together kind of the first of its kind alumni reunion event that took place last spring. It was pretty cool. And one of the things she was looking to do with that event was see if alumni would be interested in donating to fund some type of scholarship or awards for students in SGA. And some alumni donated. The fund didn't grow too big, but I think it was about 3 weeks ago now, Amy Bunrins, who was a longtime kind of CEO, head of the Alumni Association, and Craig Swan, who's an alumni from Texas, and both of them were really involved in Senate in SGA when they were K-State students. They emailed us and said they're going to donate $50,000 to go towards scholarships / awards for students in SGA. So pretty exciting stuff. And I'll be back up here soon to discuss the ways we envision those funds getting dispersed, but it's going to form an endowment that's going to grow year after year, and we're going to pull from how much it spins off to give to SGA students. So really exciting. Also, I've learned that when someone tells you they're going to give you $50,000, you can never say thank you too much. So in cabinet just now, if Brady could come on up, we took a short video, said 3, 2, 1, everyone says thank you, Amy and Craig. We're gonna do that again now, so play with me, but it'll take like 10 seconds and then we're gonna stitch it into a nice video to send to them. So, Brady, where should people stand?
Yeah, you guys can just kind of stay sitting. For those of you guys on the outside edges, if you want to move in really fast, and if you guys want to do as well. It's going to take like 10 seconds.
Take 10 seconds, and it's Amy and Craig.
Yeah.
So 3, 2, 1, thank you, Amy and Craig. Should be quick.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. All right, and I'll count you guys down. If I get to 0, that's when you go, so we're all together. All right. 3, 2, 1. Thank you, Amy and Craig. Awesome. Sweet.
All right, that's all I got. Also, Amy Bunrins is around campus a lot, if you know what she looks like. So if you see her, feel free to say you're in SGA and say thank you. So that's all I got.
Are there any further directors that would like to give a report? Director Shivshi.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ibrahim Chifchi. I'm the Multicultural Affairs Director this year. I just want to come introduce myself. This is my first Senate of the year. Give my quick report and then see if you guys have any questions. So first off, I'll be sharing a flyer later on too. September 27th, 6:30. It's a Friday. We'll be having the Multicultural Student Organization Volleyball Social. It'll be like 9 different organizations. This includes like the Black Student Union, Asian American Student Union, Hispanic American Leadership Organization, some of our multicultural engineering organizations, just a lot of different organizations. The reason why we do this is for people to meet each other, interact, get to know each other, and I really encourage all of you guys to attend that event. Just you can stop by 30 minutes, 20, 15 minutes, just come say hi, get to meet some new people, and hopefully through that we can really get our numbers in SGA up in Senate on the exec branch, just so they know what student government is. Again, I'll send that flyer out later, or maybe Brady might send that flyer out through the big listserv. Just be on the lookout for that. Next, Part of my duties, I have to co-chair the Intercultural Leadership Council. I co-chair that with Paige, student body president. We had our first meeting last week, September 9th. It was really good. We finally have a full committee. The purpose of this council is just to really have different corners of campus come together in the same room and discuss. So this includes like Veterans Affairs, I'm blanking, multicultural student organizations, students from the Access Center, just really different corners of campus. Our next meeting will be next Monday. We meet kind of bi-weekly. We'll talk about like civic engagement, how our council can be prepared for that. But our big meeting is October 23rd, where we'll meet with the university president and the provost just to see if they have any, essentially take student concerns to them, take student questions to them. It's a really great opportunity for us just to interact with people that kind of control the university. Again, that's really me. That's what I've been working on. I'll send that flyer out, or hopefully Brady will send that flyer out later. And yeah, it's really nice to meet all of you guys. Hopefully I'll be back at Senate a lot more this year than last year. And hopefully we can work together on a lot of different projects, get you guys' input on certain things, certain ideas, and strategically cooperate so we can move together.
Are there any questions for the director? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Are there any further directors that like to give a report? Okay, seeing none, we will go into the approval of the allocations. Both bills 13 and 14 were referred back favorably from the Student Allocations Committee 5-1-0. Bill 13 is the fiscal year allocation to the American Society of Landscape Architects. They requested $1,500 and were recommended $1,500. And Bill 14 is the FY25 allocation to Bridges International. They requested $1,000 and were recommended $1,000. Is there a motion to approve? Chair Strunk.
I move to approve the allocations unanimously.
Second. I object on Bill 14.
Okay. It has been moved, seconded, and objected to approving the allocations.
It's been updated a little, like the wording got changed a little, but
Would you like to come forward and explain?
yeah, we basically added, on 14, it was 18 Bridges International students will be attending.
If you'll come up and use the mic.
Okay. But I don't think that's the reason.
Chair Lee.
Wait, maybe I'm not looking at it right. Is Bill 14 the allocation of Bridges International and the resolution of parking services?
No, on the agenda, it should say resolution 14 instead of bill 14 for the, yep.
So as far as like corrections, I had changed it in the intro, like the file on Org Central to 18 Bridges International students, but I don't think that's the reason for the objection. So is this, first rights to debate?
No, it is not. The motion has been moved, seconded, and objected to, so we'll now take a vote on whether or not to approve the allocations. Is that debatable, Brian?
That is not, however, if a motion was made to move it into final action, which would be preferable in this case, that motion is not debatable, but the motion to approve would then be debatable. But it has to be moved out of approval of allocation.
Okay. Does somebody want to make a motion like that? Senator Shirkey.
I make such a motion.
Object.
Okay, it has been moved, seconded, and objected. We'll now take a hand vote on whether or not to move Bill 14 into final action. So if you would like to move it into final action, please raise your placard now. Proxies raised 2. Okay, you can lower them. And all those opposed, please raise your placards now. Proxies raised 2. Okay, the motion will fail, and both bills will stay under approval. Chair Strunk's motion to approve the allocations is still on the table, so we'll now go into a hand vote on whether or not to approve the allocations. All those in favor of approving the allocations, raise your placards now. Proxies raised 2. Okay, you can lower them. All those opposed, same sign. Okay, the allocations will stand approved. No. Okay, we'll now go into final action on Resolution 242514, which is resolution to parking services regarding transparency and clarity. If one of the authors will please come forward. Were there any changes in committee?
Just the name of the parking director.
Okay. You have first rights to debate then.
Do I just okay. Resolution 242514, authors Katie Zago, Matt Holzmeister. Whereas the Kansas State University Department of Parking
Senator
Services.
Holzmeister, the bill's in final action, so if you would like to debate on the contents of it.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, I thought I had to read it. Okay. So I don't read it. I just debate it. Oh, okay. Okay, so Katie and I, sorry about that. Katie and I brought this bill forward because we've noticed that there is no parking signs on campus. We think that is not very transparent. And lots of students think that parking regulations are different than what they say on the website. Lots of people say it's common knowledge that parking closes that you can park on campus after 5 p.m. That is not true, apparently. The only way you would know that is if you were to pull up the website, which is absurd, I think. I just think it's very opaque, not very transparent. Every single university has clear parking regulations, has clear parking signage. You go to University of Kansas, you go to Fort Hays, you pull into the parking lot. When it's a restricted lot, it says you can park here from 9 to 5, or you cannot park here from 9 to 5. And it's very obvious. Around Kansas State, though, you just get told, pay here, pay here, pay here. You don't know when are you supposed to pay. And I feel like it's kind of extracting every single penny out of students after students already pay a lot of money to be here. For example, let me pull this up. Last year when we first brought this up, we met with the old parking director. Current annual revenue was $3.2 million. Lots of money. Pre-COVID annual revenue was around $4 million. And we have estimates of, depending on how many signs you want to get, we estimate around 100 signs. If you just want 100 signs, that'd be around $3,500. 400 signs, $14,000, depending on what option you want. Very reasonable, it would save lots of students. If you want to ticket students, I feel like you should do it in a clear and transparent way. And that's what this bill proposes.
Okay, seeing as that is debate in the positive, is there any debate in the negative? Senator Carton.
While to admit, I also understand parking is very stressful for a lot of students. I can promise you there are signs. There are T signs, K signs, W signs, JW signs, R signs, D signs, all of that, and GM signs. I promise there are signs around. And talking with some members and that work for parking services, this would cause quite a bit of an uproar with funding. And while I understand that this is trying to prove to be a good thing. This could set back parking services further and would cause a lot more stringent issues for students, faculty, and staff on campus to park.
Seeing as that is debate in the negative, is there debate in the positive? Senator Griffith.
So ultimately, all this resolution is asking, not mandating, is asking parking services to put signs around in the parking areas when you are allowed and not allowed to park here, with or without a parking pass. That is in every city, every park, and even here in Manhattan, almost everywhere that has major parking has those kinds of signs. So in my opinion, this is the bare minimum for a parking service to do. I think is an unequivocally good thing, and I think you should support it.
Okay, seeing as that's debate in the positive, is there debate in the negative? Caucus Leader Black.
I just maybe have some questions that could be addressed by some debate in the positive, but this has kind of been on the back of my mind since then, and some things that I've been on the lookout for is, are there adequate signs in parking lots, and what do those signs say? And one thing that I have noted is that every lot has a sign that says what type of lot it is, whether it's OTZ, W, Y, so on. And then it also says what permits are required to park there. But I do know that this bill also calls for the reasoning of times and stuff like that. I guess my debate in the negative is I don't feel the need to replace all the signs per se, just because I think that the timing issue could be solved by this being easily accessible on the website. And when one gets a ticket for parking in a lot, regardless of time, there was the I don't have this type of parking pass and I'm parking here anyway risk that you would assume. So I just don't know if we should go replacing all the signs, or if that's even what you're calling for, if you're trying to say maybe we need to add in some metrics of when the lots are patrolled, I guess.
Okay, seeing as that was debate in the negative, is there debate in the positive? Senator Shirkey.
I actually have a request for a friendly amendment. Line 5 and 6, there's 2 spaces, there only need to be 1.
Okay. Seeing as that was debate in the negative, is there debate in the positive? Is there debate in the negative? Parliamentarian blood.
I have a quick visual aid. Perfect. So I just wanted to highlight some of the things that were asked, right? We have section 1, which asks for new signs where the permit type, time of day, and days that are cited need to be up. We have a request that an email be sent out with roughly the same info, such as a map that's labeled by permit type. We want to have times and areas that are patrolled and days on that email, and then we want the website to be continuously updated. So I did a little bit of research, and I found a sign right next to where the author's main college is. And I could understand why this sign wouldn't be clear, the black on blue letters, but I can guarantee you that the types of permits that are required to park in that area are visible on the sign. So we can go ahead and strike section A of section 1. The other parts we'll get to later, but we'll strike that part. Next, I did get an email in July of 2024, right after I bought my pass this year. So let's dig into what this email has. Well, first, I can park in green, blue, and light purple lots. So that sign should be pretty clear where I can park. Next, oh boy, it links to a map that's color-coded and labeled, just like we ask. And then it has right below it the hours of enforcement for the garage, for the student lots, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., and that certain lots are patrolled 24/7. Fantastic. So we can strike sections A and B. We don't have the days, we can amend the email, and we don't send the email every semester. Okay, pretty light. Let's go to section 3. Oh, when I type ksu.edu/parking, right there, it shows up, tickets and enforcement, and then tells me just about the exact same info that is on the email that I was sent. So either we as the student body can read and check our email, or we can't, but that's really what's being asked for. So we can strike section 3 in total. So if we think about this, really what we're asking for is we want the times to be put on the signs, and we want the days when they might not be patrolling them to be put on the signs, and we want them highly visible. But that would mean we'd need new signs, and new signs cost money. And so what really we're recommending by this is that KSU-SGA increase parking pass rates. However, a previous speaker said that they don't want to continue to nickel and dime students. And so therefore, this forms a contradiction in the entire logic of this resolution. And so unless you want to have this on the front page of the Collegian, I suggest that you vote no.
Okay. Seeing as that was debate in the negative, is there any debate in the positive? Senator Holzmeister.
I would ask Brian to conduct a poll amongst the student body to see what amount of the student population actually knows what hours they can and cannot park in the parking lots. No one reads the emails. I literally just got out of a committee meeting with the academic coaching people who said they send out thousands and thousands of emails begging people to come to academic coaching. Guess how many people show up? About 200. That's a minuscule fraction of the Kansas State student population. Also, there's no times whatsoever on that thing. Sure, I could care less if it says what permit's required to park in the parking lot. I care when can I park in the parking lot, because some people don't have a parking pass and they're looking just off hours, campus is off hours, they're looking for a place to park. And I believe that they deserve to know what hours are patrolled and what hours aren't. And that's just, I think it just comes down to simple just transparency amongst the student body. You're gonna go ask them to go flip through page after page, email after email, get on the website and click through link after link to see when and where they can park on student services after however much money they pay to go to this university. I think it's laughable to say. I think, go ahead, put that article in the Collegian, because I guarantee people would say, wow, people are probably pretty tired of getting ticketed thinking that they can park on campus after 5. And this would clear that up really fast. And I think they would probably side with me. So go ahead, call the Collegian, get the Collegian out here. I bet they would very much be on our side, because I know a lot of students that I've proposed this to have been on my side. I said, Matt, yes, I parked on campus after 5, and I got a ticket. And you know how many appeals they get? They get a ton of appeals, and all of them lots of them say the same thing. I parked on campus after 5. I parked on campus after 5. I parked on campus after 5. All that could quickly be erased if you just put signs up and be transparent. You don't have to buy every single new sign. You can just put a sign. You can even get a sticker. You can put a sticker. I've seen it where they make changes to signs. You can put a sign next to the sign. You do not need to get a brand new sign for every single thing. You can put a sign that has the times right next to that sign that says Lot T, and you don't need 10,000 signs. You need one at the entrance. That's it. It's not very hard. It's just, if you're going to ticket people, literally do it the right way. Don't make people jump through loop after loop after loop after loop. That's what they want to do. They want you to jump through loop after loop after loop to figure out when and where you can park. And I don't think that's right. I think it's just simple just to put a couple signs at the entrances saying, you can park in this lot from after 5, or you can park in this lot after 7, or you can't park in this lot at all without paying. Let's just say we want to say that they can't afford to buy signs. Well, they figured out a way to buy 50,000 pay now signs. Go around every parking lot. Every parking lot has buku signs of where to pay, where to pay, where to pay. They don't have a single sign, not a single sign of when and where you don't have to pay. So really what they're doing is just taking advantage of students who don't know where to park or when to park. And so I think that's a little ridiculous. So I think we can go ahead and call the collegian, and I think that if it's reported correctly, the student body would be very much on my side. So I hope everyone stands in favor of this resolution.
Okay, seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there debate in the negative? Chair Lilly.
I'd like to give my speaking rights to the Director of Parking and
Hi, everyone. My name is Adrienne Tucker. I'm the new parking director for Kansas State University. I am on my day 19 here at the university. It's been great. Thank you to the First, I would like to address the gentleman's concerns. I don't want to come up here as like I'm in the negative or I'm against. You do make valid points. Specifically about hours of enforcement being on signs. Traditionally across the country, you do see some sort of hours of either enforcement or hours posted on the signs of when that parking session is active, if you will. And you are correct. The university sends out a lot of emails. We are one of them. It is the best way that we can communicate en masse to students. For example, when people do purchase a permit, they automatically receive the email that Brian discussed, and it does says hours of enforcement in line 2. So if you want to know when we're out there ticketing and where we are ticketing, it's in the email that you receive. We can't force people to read them, and we can't read them to every individual on campus. So we do rely on students to even read when you purchase a permit, a pop-up comes up that says, I have read the rules and regulations, and you click on it in order to purchase the permit. We hope that you read it. We provide you with the information. That being said, our appeals process is flooded with simple instances that could be taken care of at parking services. I'm not going to speak to what happened before, but I believe in transparency, and I believe in having discussions with anybody who comes to parking services or who calls. I'm more than willing to have a conversation with you about your parking, and we're more than willing to work with you on a citation that you've received, because most of the time it's a miscommunication, and that is something that we can void. We're not out there in the bushes trying to get you and trying to, quote, extract more money from you. To the point of our budget, $3.2 million last year, $4 million before COVID. We have $1 million bond we are still paying on the garage. We repaved A5 last year at the tune of $1.2 million. To resurface lots, to do basic maintenance, you're looking at between $15,000 to $18,000 a stall. So you can do the math, and I can tell you how expensive that is. Parking services is not rolling in the dough. I can tell you that much. Again, those are conversations I'm more than willing to have with any student. Additionally, we have started, as a part of the campus beautification process, replacing some of our signs. We invested $20,000 at the end of May. The part of campus that we have finished is from Denison to North Manhattan and Anderson to Claflin. With the noted exception of Derby and the surrounding dorms, those signs just arrived today, and we hope to have those installed before winter. We've also updated the signs at Vet Med and the Rec Center, but to the gentleman's point, they do not include hours of enforcement. In addition, again, I just want to say, and our Park Mobile signs, the one that say pay here, those come complimentary from Park Mobile. We did not pay for those. The university hired the Smith Group, which is a consulting firm, earlier this year. And a part of that, they hired HNTB, which is a parking and transportation consulting firm, to take a look at parking and transportation on campus and make recommendations. Before I started with the university, I was a part of those focus groups, and I meet with them regularly. We know that there are parking concerns and issues on campus. We recognize that. We know that in many ways it's not efficient, and it doesn't serve everybody. And so what we are going to be working on over the next 9 to 12 months is a parking plan that allows more parking for students, better signage, to the gentleman's point, and just kind of even really rethinking about how we name our lots and making sure that, you know, the nomenclature makes sense and it's easy for people to understand. Again, I invite anybody to give me a call if you have any questions. My personal office number is 785-532-1980. That's my direct line. You're more than welcome to call me if you want to come and have a conversation. I'm open.
Okay, seeing as that was debate in the negative, is there any debate in the positive? Senator Griffith.
I move to postpone resolution 14 indefinitely.
Objection.
I don't think that motion's in order because we're in final action. Is that correct? Okay. Seeing as that is debate in the negative, is there any further debate in the positive? Senator Nagai Velasquez.
How do I ask a question?
Point of information. What is your question?
To the director. Who's up there? Or do I not?
We technically don't have questions in debate, but I would allow it, I guess, this time.
They move
Yeah.
to suspend the rules and allow it.
Yeah.
I have a question, director.
Yes.
Do I have to buy a permit to see that email?
Yes.
Or is it universal? Oh, okay.
So even if you purchase like a day pass to park on campus, you typically receive a pop-up that says, I have read the rules and regulations, and there's a link that lists like when your permit is good, where you can park on campus.
But if I don't purchase any sort of permit or anything, I don't get the email?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, seeing as that was debate in the negative, is there any debate in the positive? Senator Giefer.
All right, my point here is for people who don't buy a permit, like me, we don't get the email, so we aren't aware of these things. So that's kind of my point one. Also, as the director said, they've already invested $20,000 in signs, and I think this was only going to be like $1,200. So it's like, what, 5% or something like that? So like not a ton. And also out of the $1,200 out of the entire budget, which I understand they, you know, have costs and whatever. But the cost from their entire budget is 0.04% roughly. So it seems to me like this is a pretty minuscule cost for what I would think is a pretty high benefit action.
Okay, seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there any debate in the negative? Caucus Leader Black.
Can I call for a previous question?
Not yet. Is there any debate in the negative? Is there any debate in the positive? Senators are only allowed 2 opportunities to debate. Is there any further debate in the positive? And is there any debate at all? Okay, then with that, we will go into a hand vote on Resolution 242514. All those in favor of passing the resolution, please raise your placards now. Proxies raised too. Is there any hands on Zoom? Okay. No, keep your placards raised. Okay, you can lower them. All those opposed, same sign. Okay, with that, resolution 242514 will fail on a hand vote. And we will now go into the introduction of the allocations. We have Bill 242515, the fiscal year 25 allocation to the Pocono Entomology Club. They requested $3,000 and were recommended $1,500. Bill 242516, fiscal year 25 allocation to the Creative Arts Therapy students. They requested $1,500 and were recommended $900. Bill 242517, FY25 allocation to K-State ASHRAE. They requested $200 and were recommended $200. And FY25 student allocation to the agricultural.
That's not right. They didn't request $200. They requested like I think $320.
Say that again.
I think they requested $320 and were recommended $200. So that's not right.
Okay.
I didn't catch that.
Okay. Bill 17, they requested $320. Is that what you said?
I think so. Yeah.
And they were recommended $200. FY25 student allocation to the Agricultural Education Club, they requested $1,200 and were recommended $1,200. Is there a motion to consider the allocations? We already do that?
No one did it, but you.
Okay. Chair Strong.
To consider the allocations.
Excellent. Is there a second? Is there an objection?
Oh, wait, there's a minor, sorry. This is a very minor thing. The amount requested was $330 on the one we were requesting about.
Okay, excellent. Is there an objection to the consideration? Okay, the allocations will stand considered. Moving to introduction of legislation, does anybody have a motion to consider Bill 34? Caucus Leader Black.
I move to consider Bill 34.
Is there an objection? Okay, if the author will please come forward.
Note, it is Resolution 34.
Resolution 34.
All right. Resolution 242534, recognition of Hispanic Heritage Month. Authors Alondra Alvarez and Andrew Lee. Sponsors the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee. Whereas the Kansas State University Student Governing Association aims to recognize the significant role historically underrepresented communities play in enriching our university. Whereas from September 15th to October 15th, the United States of America celebrates the rich histories, diverse cultures, and outstanding contributions of Hispanic communities. Whereas from September 15th to October 15th was declared as Hispanic Heritage Month because of Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Mexico, and Chile celebrate their independence from Spain on or around September 15th. Whereas the Hispanic community is a diverse population originating from 28 Spanish-speaking countries, all with their own unique cultures. Whereas according to the 2020 United States Census Bureau, people of Hispanic origin make up 13% of Kansas's population, whereas 8.3% of students enrolled at Kansas State University identify as Hispanic, and whereas celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month provides Kansas State University an opportunity to recognize the achievements, contributions, and history of, and to understand the challenges faced by the Hispanic population. Be it resolved that Section 1, the Kansas State University Student Governing Association officially recognizes September 15th to October 15th as Hispanic Heritage Month at Kansas State University. Section 2, KSU SGA encourages all students, faculty, and staff to participate and engage in events that celebrate Hispanic heritage and amplify Hispanic voices. Section 3, upon passage of the Student Senate and signature of the Student Body President, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to the President of the Kansas State University Hispanic American Leadership Organization, Israel Quinones, Program Coordination for Multicultural Student Life, Brandon Clark, Director of the Multicultural Student Life, Kevin Santos Flores, Assistant Vice President for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging, Corey Williamson, Assistant Vice President for Student Belonging and Inclusion, Mirta Chavez, Vice President for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging, Dr. Raina Johnson, Vice President for Academic Success and Student Affairs and Dean of Students, Dr. Thomas Lane, Provost and Executive Vice President, Dr. Jesse Perez Mendez, and University President, Dr. Richard H. Linton.
Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Senator Shirkey.
Are there any plans at the moment to kind of follow up on this recognition with any kind of events during the month, or are we just starting by recognizing it and then go?
Currently, we're starting by recognizing that it is Hispanic Heritage Month, but I know that the DEIB committee tries very, very hard to say hey, these events are going on, come to these events. And if you guys have any questions, I know Halo is really important this month, and they're pushing their events out, and you're welcome to ask me or any of the members in Halo for any of that information.
Are there any further questions or corrections for the author? Okay, saying none, thank you. The next is Resolution 242535, resolution to encourage students to fulfill their civic duty. Is there a motion to consider? Senator Glasscock.
Resolution.
Okay, if the author will please come forward.
Hold on, I'm actually flipping it backwards. 1 second. All right, resolution 242535, resolution to encourage students to fulfill their civic duty. Authors Andrew Lee, sponsors Bentley Talbert, Brady Kappelman, Lauren Wolter, Paige Vogelmore, Alexa Hasseltine, Max Black, Alondra Alvarez, Samantha Suchanek, Carson Cuesta, Andrew Navarro, Evelyn Ediger, Michael Jacobson, and Jacob Hoffman. Whereas the Kansas State University Student Governing Association, KSUSJ, represents the interests of the student body and is dedicated to promoting civic engagement and participation in the democratic processes. Whereas voting is a fundamental right and responsibility in a democratic society, empowering individuals to influence government decisions and shape public policy. Whereas issues directly affecting students, such as higher education policy, housing, and economic opportunity, are decided through local, state, and federal elections. Whereas voter registration is the first step for students to participate in elections, and early registration ensures that all eligible students can vote in upcoming elections without barriers. Whereas Kansas provides easy access to voter registration through both online and physical methods. Whereas National Voter Registration Day took place on Tuesday, September 17th, 2024. Whereas the deadline to register to vote in Kansas is October 15th, 2024. Whereas Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. Whereas early voting begins on Wednesday, October 16th, 2024 at 10 a.m. Whereas students can vote early at an on-campus polling location on the second floor of the Kansas State University Student Union in the Bluemont Room. And whereas civic engagement initiatives play a critical role in educating students about their voting rights, deadlines, and the true impact of their vote. Be it resolved that Section 1, the Kansas State University Student Governing Association, KSUSJ, strongly urges all eligible Kansas State University students to register to vote in their local, state, or federal elections. Section 2, KSUSJ encourages students to visit ksvotes.org to check, update, or register to vote in Kansas. And Section 3, KSUSGA commits to promoting voter registration and engagement through SJ-sponsored events, social media campaigns, and student organization partnerships to ensure broad awareness of registration deadlines and procedures. Section 4, KSUSJ will collaborate with campus departments, student organizations, and the broader Manhattan community to provide resources, information, and support to students regarding voter registration and election engagement. In Section 5, upon passage by the Student Senate, a signature of the student body president, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to the director of the Institute for Civic Discourse and Democracy, Dr. Colleen Lind, co-founder and facilitator of community partnerships, Donna Schenk Hamlin, senior advisor, Dr. David E. Proctor, Riley County Clerk, Rich Vargo, Editor-in-Chief of the Kansas State Collegian, Cole Burleson, Assistant Professor and Director of Leadership and Service Programs, Dr. Tamara Bauer, Program Coordinator for Multicultural Student Life, Brandon Clark, Director of Multicultural Student Life, Kevin Santos Flores, Assistant Vice President for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging, Corey Williamson, Vice President for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging, Dr. Raina Johnson, Vice President for Academic Success and Student Affairs and Dean of Students, Dr. Thomas Lane, Provost and Executive Vice President, Dr. Jesse Perez Mendez, and University President, Dr. Richard H. Linton.
Are there any questions or corrections for the author?
Yes.
Vice President O'Malley.
Ray, I just filled out the sponsorship form and would love to be added if you felt so inclined.
Yes, please do.
Any further questions or corrections? Senator Shirkey.
What's up?
Can I just be added as a sponsor? I didn't fill out the form, but I approve of the resolution.
We can send out the form in a second. It's on the Org Central.
I'm glad it's a hit.
Any further questions or corrections?
Oh, I have a correction. Brady's name is spelled wrong. His last name. Gotta put an extra N on there. I thought I did that. No, oh yeah, I do have his name tag too. So I should know.
Okay. Any further questions or corrections? Okay. Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we'll go into Resolution 242536, recommendation to update the smoking. Senator Griffith.
I move to special order Resolution 35 and final action.
Second.
For those curious about what that is, the motion to special order would be to, instead of sending it to a committee, for the committee to refer it back to us, we would instead vote on it right now, tonight. So if you are in favor of the motion to move bill or resolution 35 into final action, if you'll raise your placard now and proxies raised too. Okay, you can lower them. And all opposed, raise your placards now, proxies raised too. Okay, the motion will fail.
I call for a division of the committee.
What's the threat? Excellent. We will now go into Resolution 242536, recommendation to...
No, like, it's one person.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. A senator is called for division, which means that we will vote again. So if you are opposed on the motion to special order resolution 35 and vote on it right now, raise your placards now, proxies raised too.
Can you repeat that, please? Yes.
Okay, a senator is called for division of the room, which means that we need to vote again so we can tally the poll again. So if you will raise your placards now if you are in favor of voting on the motion to special order. And proxies raised too.
I'm sorry, can I get what bill are we voting on? It's hard to keep up here.
Resolution 35 to special order about elections.
What are you talking about? Are we, is this to special order it, or is this?
Yes, this is on the motion to special order the resolution.
Okay.
We're voting on the motion one more time.
Okay.
How many people on Zoom? Okay, you can lower your placards now. All those against the motion, raise your placards again, proxies raised too. Okay, seeing that, since 13 people voted for the motion will fail. Okay. I think it was 13 to 19, but I don't. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Resolution 242536, recommendation to update the smoking policy of Kansas State University. Is there a motion to consider? Caucus Leader Kermer.
Move to consider Bill 36.
Second.
Okay, if the author will please come forward.
Bill 242536, recommendation to update the smoking policy of Kansas State University. Authors Benjamin Carton, sponsors Emily Haynes, Carly Saya, Sophia Glanville, and Andrew Lee. Whereas, with the advancement of technology, it is becoming easier to find loopholes in policy guidelines and regulations that have not been updated to current times. Whereas in the specific circumstance, the Kansas State University smoking policy has not been updated since 2018. Whereas the current policy only prohibits products containing tobacco, while there is no tobacco in vaporizers and other e-cigarettes, they do contain nicotine. Whereas from certain interpretations of the current smoking policy, vaporizers technically are not prohibited by this policy. While products that contain tobacco tend to be true smoke, vaporizers and e-cigarettes emit vapor. Whereas the current policy does mention e-cigarettes and other vaporizers, however, since the emissions from e-cigarettes, vaporizers, and many other products do not count as emitting smoke, enabling individuals to continue vaping. Whereas smoking tobacco products are both a health hazard and a fire hazard, while vaporizing nicotine products are just a health hazard. Whereas the emissions from both tobacco smoke and vaporized nicotine cause the same health hazards and concerns, and both of these items negatively affect individuals with asthma and other respiratory system complications. Be it resolved that, Section 1, the Kansas State University Student Governing Association recommends that Kansas State University amend its current smoking policy 3720.080 of the Policies and Procedures Manual to read as follows. .080, smoking and vaping policy. Smoking and vaping are public health hazards, and smoking is a fire hazard. Locations where smoking and vaping are allowed shall be restricted in order to prevent infringements upon others and create and maintain an environment and culture that is in the best interest of the safety, health, and well-being of all users of the university property. The smoking and vaping of cigarettes, cigars, pipes, or burning tobacco and vaporizing nicotine in any other form or device, as well as use of electronic cigarettes, vaporizers, hookah, or other water pipe devices and all other related devices is prohibited in university-owned vehicles and other university property except inside personal vehicles. University property includes on the Manhattan and Salina campuses, inside buildings and structures, outdoors, and within state-owned vehicles. Research investigating smoking and vaping is allowed in laboratories designated for the purpose with the authorization granted by the Department of Environmental Health and Safety. Violations of the smoking and vaping policy should be reported to the proper entity. Staff and faculty violations will follow the progressive discipline policies, and students will be subject to the Student Code of Conduct. This policy is effect June 1st, 2018, and is in accordance with KSA 21-6109, etc., and City of Manhattan Ordinance number 6737. Violations of Kansas statute and city ordinance are punishable under applicable state and local laws. Section 2. Upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to Faculty Senate President Dr. Teresa Dothit, Academic Affairs Committee co-chairs Dr. Hanson Bigley and Dr. Joanne Koba, Faculty Affairs Committee co-chairs Brad Cunningham and Brandon Savage, Professional Staff Affairs Committee co-chairs Linda Craghead and Monica Kernett, the Subcommittee of University Handbook and Policy Vice President of Academic Success and Student Affairs and Dean of Students, Dr. Thomas Lane, Senior Vice President of Executive Affairs, University Engagement and Partnerships and Chief of Staff, Dr. Marshall Stewart, Provost and Executive Vice President, Dr. Jesse Perez Mendez, and University President, Dr. Richard H. Linton.
Are there any questions or corrections? Senator Glasscock.
On line 51 and 52, it states that the use of electronic cigarettes, vaporizers, as well as other things are prohibited. Does that not, is there anything that doesn't cover in terms of prohibiting like devices that are misused?
Can you repeat that question, please?
Here, I'll just, as well as use of electronic cigarettes, vaporizers, hookah, or other water pipe devices, and all other related devices is prohibited. I know in like the first part it talks about the fact that it's mentioned but not prohibited, but here it pretty clearly states prohibited. I'm not sure if that's something that factored into.
Good question. To my interpretation and reading of this, there was no turning point from the beginning of the sentence. The smoking, and this is reading from the original policy, the smoking of cigarettes, cigars, pipes, or burning tobacco in any other form or device. It did not say mentioning vaporizing nicotine. It just sticked with burning tobacco. I hope that answers the question.
Are you arguing that under the current system right now, there is nothing against university policy for someone to vape in places where they're not allowed to smoke, or is this a case of where it's being enforced without being clear?
Can you repeat that, please?
Is vaping already enforced like this changes, or currently can people freely vape on campus where they can't smoke?
It has been admitted that people have seen people smoking and vaping on campus, by myself included. Technically, since e-cigarettes or vapes do not contain tobacco, technically, through certain interpretations, it does create this loophole for students to continue to vape on campus.
Senator Maltz.
So do you know of any cases where students are being punished for this and getting out of it because of a loophole, or is this just something we're trying to catch before it's an issue?
Hopefully trying to catch it before it becomes an issue.
Senator Byers.
There's a lot of like vaping products that do not include nicotine. I just didn't know if there's like, it's still a health concern through secondhand smoke, even if it doesn't contain nicotine. And this revision only regulates the use of burning nicotine. I didn't know if there's any way we could put in an amendment or change it around a little bit to include like all vaporizing products, because that's still a lot of health regulations and hazards.
Would that be a friendly amendment?
Yes.
That's up to you.
I'll accept it.
Okay. Senator Glanville.
If you go down to line 74, I believe it is, where was it? It looks like there's not a space between of and staff in the segment that says university engagement and partnerships and chief of staff. Is there a space there? Okay. It looks like, it doesn't look like it's in here, so just, yeah.
Senator Shirkey.
I just want to clarify it from the author's point of view. The purpose of this is to make smoking and vaping equally improper at K-State?
Yes. Due to some of my circumstances, I have seen plenty of people vaping across campus. And I know that many people don't want to have to be inhaling all the chemicals that could be and usually are in that vaporized emitting. Yeah.
Senator Nagai Velasquez.
So you found out this is probably the personal experience?
Get to the wording.
Or friends. Or parents.
If you want to know, please come see me afterwards.
You got it.
Senator Holzmeister.
So what is this changing to be exact? 'Cause I know that vaping, I think, already is not allowed on campus. And even if this were, so I don't think vaping is allowed right now. And how would you enforce it? Because you can't have people, vape maybe in buildings, but you can't enforce it at 24 hours a day because it's not feasible. So I guess what is like actually being changed here besides just wording?
So, very good question. I appreciate that. Unfortunately, I'm still new to a lot of this as well. Trying to force faculty and staff to really start enforcing this, I feel is not my position. This is just changing the current policy that we have that has been since 2018. And the reason why this bill was brought up is because most, and if not all, vapes specifically do not contain nicotine or do not contain tobacco. They only contain liquid nicotine and other fluids, if you will. So the purpose of this is putting in the words that most people would already assume that should be in there. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any further questions or corrections? Okay, seeing none, thank you. With that, since we've exhausted everything else, we will now go into second open period. Are there any second open period speakers? Chair Lee?
Yeah, but let me send Brian.
it's the second one. Yeah, whoa. Guys, guess what? September 25th, right out there, there's going to be a candidate forum, or actually a debate. I talked about this, I think, 2 weeks ago or so. Not that one. Wait, hold up. Not that one. Yeah, so Kim Zito and Angel Rojo will be facing off on Wednesday night at 6 o'clock here out in the Student Union Courtyard from 6 to 7:30. It's being sponsored by Young Dems, the County Republican Party, ICDD, and K-State Political Science Department. It's going to be super cool. We'll be talking about a lot of interesting topics regarding Medicaid, higher education policy. I think there's some other handfuls. Me and Michael Jacobson actually are going to be co-moderating this together, so it'll be super fun and exciting. So please show up and show out. Yeah, bring some friends, learn about state politics, and who's going to be running to maybe represent you if you guys live in Western Manhattan. So, yeah.
Are there any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any further second open period speakers? Okay, seeing none, we will go into reference of legislation. Bills 15 through 18 will be referred to the Student Allocations Committee. Resolution 34 will be referred to the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee. Resolution 35 will be referred to the Senate Executive Committee, and Resolution 36 will be referred to the Strategic Oversight Committee. And with that, Speaker Pro Tem Hesseltine will take it away with Senate shoutouts.
Alrighty, shout out to voting. It's cool. I love voting. Shout out to all of the amazing PR/social media work that Bree and Eric have done. Shout out to Jeopardy. Shout out to Alexa. She looks cuter than that viral pygmy hippo. Shout out to Andrew Lee, the best snack in the cupboard. Shout out to being confused by so much this Senate. Shout out to Gavin looking cute again tonight. Shout out to Andrew for going to the podium as Brady. To Brian, I owe you an apology. I was unfamiliar with your game. Shout out to Brian's energy. Where are you most of the time? Shout out to writing legislation that matters. Shout out to Brian making this a presentation night. Shout out to Amy and Craig. Shout out to Joseph. At this rate, Chair Lilly will be a shoo-in for the Medal of Honor. Keep fighting the good fight, sir. Shout out to Andrew Lee for moving to something. And shout out to JFK. So sad that Speaker Cuesta killed him and framed Lee Harvey Oswald.
Okay, and now Speaker Pro Tem Hesseltine will take it away with our second roll call.
Alrighty, Alvarez. Here. Black.
Here.
Blood.
Here.
Brugan.
Here.
Sorry, my Zoom just popped up. Byers.
Here.
Casement.
Here.
Koch.
Here.
Edgar.
Here.
George.
Here.
Giefer.
Here.
Glanville.
Here.
Glasscock.
Here.
Griffith.
Here.
Hannah. Hoffman.
I'm here.
Holmes.
Here.
Holzmeister.
Here.
Islam. Madeline Jacobson.
Here.
Michael Jacobson.
Here.
Jonak.
Here.
Carton.
Yep.
Keen.
Here.
Kidd.
Here.
Kermer.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Lilly.
Here.
McCullough. Moltz.
Here.
Morris.
Here.
Nagai Velasquez.
Here.
Otto.
Here.
Peterson. Kalenko.
Here.
Prey.
Here.
Robbie.
Here.
Rafferty.
Here.
Richenberg.
Here.
Shahasavari.
Here.
Shirky.
Here.
Sides.
Here.
Stewart. Strunk.
Here.
Sushanik.
Here.
Uphouse.
Here.
And that's it.
Okay, with that, is there a motion to adjourn? Senator Griffith.
I move to adjourn until Thursday, September 26th, same time, same place.
Is there an objection? We stand adjourned.